picking. Wing is one position where I don't see quality depth in the squad when I look at it. And Grace, I think he grabbed some scores in Wales' his recent internationals at the back end of last year. Okay, not against the top level of opposition, but I just think he looks a real talent. He's got a real fluid sort of style, and maybe if there's injuries, he might get his chance this year and get a couple of games and see how he does.
Yeah, no, my key man, I'm going to stick to me guns. My key man is still Matty Smith for a different reason now, in that I think if he's missing for vast swathes of the season, then that will be key to whatever success St Helens can have. But I think, like you alluded to, he fits much better into that St Helens system than Luke Walsh did, and I think he will help them to tick over and kick on when he does come back into the squad. But my rising star is Morgan Knowles. I rate this kid very highly. He's versatile. He's not just a loose forward. I've seen him deployed at hooker at times for them last year as well. And this is a big year for him. This is a year of opportunities, because they're nominal loose forwards and guys like Wilkin and McCarthy Scales, but when he plays there, they're coming towards the end of their careers now. These aren't guys who are going to be giving you the big minutes that you would always expect from them, and this is an opportunity for a more specialist loose forward who can, play the ball like Morgan Knowles can, to come in and do a job for St Helens. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from this young man: increase game time and make some real contributions on either side of the ball.
Okay, I've got them being an unspectacular third in Super League and not changing that in the eights. I don't think they'll get further than the semi-finals though. Right. But I do have them winning the cup. With Matty Smith maybe getting the
drop goal winner,
last Todd trophy with drop goal to win it. Well, more on Matty Smith drop goals in my say what.
Oh, I see. Okay, I have them a little bit further back than you. I have them fourth and a cup semi-final. So still, by all means, a good season for St Helens, with some potential for silverware at the back end of the year.
Their fans, we start with Neil Cunliffe. He has them having a very good season. Helena Bowie, she says they're going to win the Challenge Cup, third place in Super League after the playoffs, and Kieran Cunningham removed as head coach.
Aww.
And finally get a season without an injury crisis. Well,
poor KFC.
She's on board with everything I've said, apart from, we both know now that last part ain't got to happen by the sounds of it. Peter Norton says top four finish, lucky to get into the final. Glorious leader Frogmore, or Matt, as other people might call him. He says, keep your expectations low and you can't be disappointed. So I expect we'll make the top four and get further into the finals than last season. I think that's how it works.
Keep your expectations low and you can't be disappointed. The Wally Frogmore story.
Neil Connolly said to play more entertaining rugby. I tell you what, as a Saints fan, that's more of a hope than an expectation, but it's certainly what he hopes to see from his team this year.
Yeah,
which is how the question was framed. And Craig Finney, he says, clean sweep for the mighty Red V. So there you go.
Okay,
all three.
Absolute. Who's next, Mark?
It is Hull FC. Now, of course, in the regular season, they were top dogs. They were first at the end of that, but slipped to third after the Super 8s, which was kind of trailing off after their magnificent, dramatic, exciting Cup final victory. Yeah. So how do you see 2017?
Do you know what? I'm really excited for Hull FC this year. Not just in terms of their amazing luminous yellow kit either. I think this is a really, as talented a team as exists in Super League at the moment. I think in terms of their potential for what they can go on and achieve. I will put my neck on the line and say I don't think there's a better set of backs in Super League in terms of what they can achieve cumulatively. You might pick and choose different players that you could interchange in there and say, well, he's better than this one, but I think as a group this is the strongest set of backs in Super League. The question for me around this Hull FC side, and it is only a minor one because I'll go on to some positives in a minute, is around the age of some of their key players. Now obviously Minicello and Ellis were imbued with a youth from somewhere last season, and they were phenomenal players. But this is another go round for some of these guys. So the depth of this squad, the guys like the Washbrooks of this world, the Sika Manus, they're going to have a job to do in supporting the ageing talent that exists there. When I say ageing talent, I don't think it's diminished talent, but they're going to have to manage themselves. And to be fair to Leigh Radford, he did manage Gaz Ellis well towards the back end of the season. Very, very excited for what this team can achieve. Relatively low turnover in terms of the people that have come in. Josh Griffin, I think, when we talked about what a loss he was going to be for Salford, I think he flies into this Hull side and is a tremendous addition for them. Jake Connor coming in from Huddersfield, likewise, I think really boosts what they were doing. Albert Kelly was a bonus signing for me. He brings some spark and some excitement, but without being relied on in the way that he was when he was playing in East Hull. There's enough other talented players in that Hull side for him to not need to feel he's the only outlet for scoring points, which I think put him under a tremendous amount of pressure towards the end of his time at Hull KR, and kind of soured his exit a little bit. And the young lad they brought in from Halifax as well, Nick Rawthorne, who's also a centre, I believe, and good luck to this kid coming in and stepping into a full-time environment. I feel really strongly that Hull can kick on and have cumulatively a better season than they did last year. In fact, I think they're going to be not necessarily cup winners, but I think they're going to be in a better position to have a more sustained tilt at grand final appearances and semi-final appearances and go along that road, and that will be what represents success for them. Not success in a knockout format, but in a sustained league campaign. And I'm very, very excited to see what this team can do from 1 to 17. I think they're a very, very talented, strong side, and Leigh Radford's gone up in my estimations massively as well as a coach in the last 18 months.
Right, well, this is where we get out of.
Is this where we go? Is this where we go different?
They were great last year, and I'm sure they will be a very competitive side this year. But maybe the odd bounce of the ball or split-second tackle might go a bit differently to them. Again, I'm not saying they were lucky last year, or that luck was what got them the success they had, but they did have some luck. And I'll get onto that in a minute. But the negatives first, I suppose. They've lost a big dressing room influence in Frank Pritchard, I feel. Similarly, the same could be said for Kurt Geeman, and his influence on last year's side has probably been one of the most underestimated stories of that 2016 Hull performance. They lost 4 of 6 without him, and then when he came into the side, they only lost 2 of 17 in the regular season, as well as that great cup run that he was a big part of too. In terms of Albert Kelly, I'm not sure he's the difference between a really good side and a great side for your rugby league side. I think there's too much weakness with the splash plays, and the great try scored against Toronto aside, there's still a man to be got out there. This is the thing for me. Houghton, Shaw, Snade, Taylor, Watts, they all played almost every game in 2016. You could argue that they got quite lucky with injuries, so maybe that luck doesn't fall the same in 2017. It doesn't tend to go back. You don't tend to get that continuity for 2 years in a row in this physical sport. What they should do, though, is mean we have at least 5 very competitive sides in Super League this season, which I think is great for the competition. Their key to a successful season will be able to keep things up late on in the season. And even though I'm not sure they'll have the cup distraction they had last year, I still don't think they'll necessarily keep it going, because I think they might get the Castleford late season injury bug. The other thing, the final point to say, is I don't think they've got a big enough proven squad, because I've not seen enough out of a lot of their younger players to say that they can do it at top level yet. I've not seen enough yet. And they've only got 21 first teamers from how I look at this squad, and that to me, and only one hooker in the entire squad, but he's a good one to have, and he doesn't need to be looked after that often unless he does get an injury. But I think that's too small a squad in a physical sport, potentially. Right.
Well, there you go. We have gone different, haven't we?
Who's your key man?
Key man, Mark Sneyd, for me. So much of what Hull do offensively comes off this young man's feet. and I think that's going to be the case again this season. Very impressive couple of years from this kid, and I'm a big fan, so I'm looking for him not only to improve but also step up in terms of a leadership and be more of a voice on the field as well for Hull FC. And my rising star is one of their acquisitions. He's only 22, but again it feels like he's been around for a good few years, but I really like Jake Connor. He offers him a good deal of utility in terms of where he can play on the field, which will come in handy if there's an injury crisis that you alluded to. But I just think he's a fabulous young player, and I think he's got an opportunity now to kick on and enjoy a strong career in the upper echelons of Super League.
Okay, I've got Gareth Ellis as my key man.
Yeah.
Mostly because I do feel they've lost some leadership like that I mentioned. And I think that makes his role in this squad more crucial. And I also think it's the way they manage him and make sure he's right for the big games like he was in 2016 that makes him the key man, if you see what I mean. And then with a veteran core, when you look through this team, most of the team is mid-20s. Like, they're not old, but they're not young, so they are. You would class them as veterans. In the 21 first teamers that I mentioned, the youngest of them is Curtis Norton. And so at 21 he probably needs to start earning himself a regular spot if he is to stay at one of the top 6 clubs in the competition. So he's in the where you placed Tom Gilmore, sort of where we talked about Ryan Hampshire conversation of he needs to get his game time and take his chances, but I think he has the talent to do that.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I have them in terms of where they're going to be this season. I've got them second at the end of the regular season, dropping to third during the Super 8, so a semi-finals appearance for Hull FC, and then who knows from there, and semis in the Cup. I think that might be a bridge too far for them in a year when they probably want to kick on and do something more in the league. Although I certainly wouldn't turn the nose up at a Cup final appearance again, but that's why I see for Hull. I
almost see maybe a Cup upset for Hull. I don't see them going far this time around, and maybe they'll surprise me. I have them as 4th in the regular season, but dropping to 5th because I do think they might get the Super 8's injury bug. Don't know why I think it, and I hope for Hull fans I'm wrong.
Well, we've all got to make predictions, Mark. It's the prediction show.
But speaking of Hull fans, we've had quite a lot, Tom.
Yes, we have, and thank you everybody for getting in touch. We'll start with Rich Langley. He says, solidify the progress from 2016 and stay in the top 4. Dan Laney says, I hope for a grand final appearance / victory. To get to the Challenge Cup final again would be amazing, but the likelihood is slim. I hope there's more silverware and an exciting displays in our attack. Scott Schroeder, new one on me, says nowhere near the success of last season, unfortunately. John Greig says hopefully we get into the top 2. Brendan Collins says if we hit the ground running, every title is within our grasp. Need to keep the pressure up until the last rounds and not fade away again. Benny Storer from all the way down in Tasmania says Hull FC with Albert Kelly can go one better in 2017. All key positions are filled and we can cover the loss of Frank the Tank. James gets in touch, doesn't have a surname, but he makes a big contribution. He says, we ran players into the ground chasing the treble last year, but Radford sounds like he's learned from that and the grand final is the goal. Kelly, Griffin and Connor are all very exciting signings and point to a more expansive attacking game. The pack is still very strong even without Pritchard. Top 4 should be nailed on. If we can get there with the right players, fit and in form, we have the talent to win the big one.
You're struggling here. Do you want me to finish these off?
Yeah, please do. Brendan Loftus.
Yeah, Brendan says, FC to build on last season's overachievement and make it 2 in a row. Who's at Wembley? Actually think Castleford will have a good season too. Andy Scrimshaw. That's good Scrimshaw.
That is good Scrimshaw.
Do you want to depart from the room whilst I go through the rest of it?
No, carry on, I'll be quiet.
To build on the 2016 progress and finish top 4 again, to win one of the 3 trophies on offer would be the target I would be aiming for also. Kevin Harker says, challenging top 4, at least semi-finals of the Challenge Cup. John Middleton goes step better though and saying, champions. Johnny feels that they will make the top 4. Paul Jordan says, finish second and win both finals.
Wow.
That's bold. Nick Jenkins, I guess not the guy off Dragon's Den,
You're watching a lot more TV than me.
Cup win and top 4 for Nick. Jack Adamson, he expects big things, so that's another big thing. One that I like these ones, big things. Sarah McKenzie.
It's a very broad sword, isn't it? Big things. It could be anything.
Oh, I forgot we promised Scoots we wouldn't swear during the whole section. I can't remember if we have or not. I don't
think we have.
She'll have to vet it. I don't know if we've sworn all show.
I think I might have dropped a couple of F-bombs early doors. But nothing on purpose.
Anyway, Scoots says, I think Hull will have a decent